Hello. Hi,
Hi,
guys.
guys.
Welcome
Welcome
to
to
the
the
Anything
Anything
Everything
Everything
podcast.
podcast.
Today's episode, I think we wanted to talk about something we all go through, or just for those groups of people who feel everything too deeply because they are so aware of themselves. And I think both of us tend to fit into that bracket. So, in today's episode, we wanted to talk about the not just the curse, but everything that encompasses your life when you're so self aware. And what is self awareness? What do you think, Prisha? What's self awareness?
Okay, for me, I feel being self aware, firstly, it has its own pros and cons.
Definitely.
But in simple language, what being self aware, I feel, according to me, is just, you know, keeping in touch with what happens within you, knowing yourself completely inwards. Self aware people, they know what's happening within them and then they pass judgment outside.
So true. And I think people just talk about one sort of self awareness. They only talk about internal self awareness. But self awareness increases when you're not only aware of yourself, but a lot of self aware people are also so deeply aware of how they are perceived by the external world. And I think
Yeah.
that's the problem.
This is the con one of
Yeah,
being too self-aware.
self awareness is an extremely double edged sword. It can give you introspection, it can give you
Very true.
reflection powers, and yeah, that does tend to make you more whole as a person because you're aware of your weaknesses. But it can also give you anxiety, it can make you insecure, it can make you hate yourself. So most of the times I have this theory that you say you're self aware, but you're not actually self aware, you are just insecure
Hmm.
because you only ever recognize the bad things about you.
Hmm.
You only ever look at yourself and think, oh, these are the things I need to change so that I can be a whole rounded individual, so that I can talk to other people and they perceive me as someone who is intellectual and
Hmm.
someone who's strong.
Hmm.
When in reality,
You're
you never
not.
question
Yeah.
you never talk about your strengths. You only ever look at the bad side.
This is, I feel, one of the cons of being completely too self-aware. I feel anything in particular, if you overanalyze any situation, when firstly things are not in a control all the time. You don't know what's going to happen the very next moment. So constantly overanalyzing something that is not in your hands, A, leads to anxiety, obviously. B, but it leads to so much self-doubt and self-criticism at one point that people, then I think they can't distinguish between what is right and what is wrong, because if you completely over analyze something, you keep looking inward, right? When you're too self aware.
Yeah,
So when you over analyze a situation, you will just find like problems with yourself. You will stop looking at the good picture, you'll only look at the bad picture.
exactly. And Dostoevsky, he basically
Yeah.
said that excessive consciousness is a disease.
Yeah.
Humans were never created to see each other and our own selves so much. We have been exposed to each other as well as ourselves because of social media,
Yeah.
because of the constant movements of the world. You see yourself too much. We've talked about beauty standards on this channel before and what that perpetuates and how social media
Fuels
amplifies
it.
that
Yeah.
effect and
Hmm.
fuels it. We were not meant to be so aware of our body, our mind all the time. And if you get stuck into that loop, then it creates an extremely negative effect, not in your life but on everybody else's too.
So I feel self-awareness in particular perspectives or scenarios, they do give you clarity, but I feel constantly being self-aware kind of leads you to scrutinize yourself more, and this concept of being too perfect sits in
Yeah,
your head. Like, you need to be, first of all, perfect word in literary concept, it doesn't exist. A person, a thing, a situation, anything can never be perfect. So when you try and over analyze everything in your life, you start noticing these small, bad sides of your self in particular. And you kind of force yourself also into thinking ki, okay, why am I not like why am I not like her? Why am I not perfect? Why have I not achieved it yet? These are just.
yeah. And I think the fact that we've reached metacognition so
Yes.
early in life.
Over
Like,
analyzing
extremely.
everything.
Metacognition is when we think about thinking, and it is not new, it has happened for years.
So I feel self-aware, as we said rightly, it does has its own pros and cons. But I feel over-analyzing every single emotion is just, it's not always very good, because some feelings sometimes are not always completely meant to be understood.
Yeah, and I think when you think too much, when you ruminate, like, your mind turns on you.
Yes,
Your mind completely turns on you. You only ever look at the negative side instead of the positive one.
this is
And
right.
it plays with your mind. It creates an illusion in front of you of how wrong you are, or you start becoming so aware of your faults and
This
your
is
shames and your
exactly.
fears.
You become so self-critical and you become so doubtful about
And not even
yourself.
critical. You just almost
You start
start hating
hating
yourself.
yourself. Yeah,
Yes.
this is where we, because I have seen, like, there have been research and studies that uh constantly trying to figure out everything and analyzing everything within yourself or even the surroundings yourself. Firstly, it leads to a anxiety. B, you constantly find yourself in this loop of trying to figure things out.
And you
Okay,
monitor not only yourself but people around you also with the
yes,
same intensity. That,
because
oh,
the way
their,
you treat yourself, that's how you're going to treat the other
yes,
people as
like
well.
their tone of voice was wrong. Why was their facial expression like this when they were talking to me?
Exactly.
Would there be some hidden meaning behind what they said? And then you just create a new, like, metaphysical mindset of what your life is and what they are saying about you in your head, which doesn't even exist. It's all illusionary. So that awareness, like that level of
Is
awareness,
bad.
especially when it's so skewed because you only ever look at the bad
Bad, the
things,
cons.
that's just
it's
wrong.
it's very wrong. And more importantly, I feel human emotions, they're not always meant to be, like, analyzed all the time. Rather than that, giving yourself more grace and allowing yourself the room to grow, because yes, being conscious and being aware of yourself is very important. That is where self awareness is critical, because in the world we live in, being self aware is very important. But what we are trying to say here is that, like, over analyzing and scrutinizing yourself over every small thing down the lane gives you this big dilemma of perfection. I feel also, when we try and become too self aware about everything, we try, we look so consciously towards the dilemmas and the problems that we face, that we fail to appreciate the present and the current moment. Because we're constantly in this cloud of thinking that, okay, this is what's going wrong with me, this is what I will end up doing. Rather than focusing on the pros, we start focusing more on the cons.
Yeah, and the fact that you talked about the current, like, staying in the present moment, that talks about the theory of mind and network that I was reading about. And they basically
Yes.
say that you think about how a conversation is going to go and you rationalize what you will be talking about in that conversation rather than being present in the conversation itself.
Yes.
You create this illusion of how you will sound, how the other person will accept your opinion or not, rather than just being there in the moment.
Yes,
And
exactly.
that in itself is you robbing yourself
It's
of
a big
experiences.
curse.
And yeah, it is a big curse because you don't even stay there. It's a ghost of you.
Exactly.
It's not your identity. It's something you have created so that people accept you, or so that you sound like some pseudo intellectual.
And more importantly, I feel we kind of, think of ourselves as someone who we are not. We try to fit in, like, and try to become like someone who we are definitely not like.
especially that
Yeah.
especially that actually, there's this place, in Zimbabwe, in one of those tribes, really olden tribes. They actually associated being so self-aware with anxiety disorders and mental illness,
Yes, yes, yes.
which, when I was reading about it, I felt so, like, it was so interesting. Because now we just say, oh yeah, that person's so aware of themselves and their opinions and everybody around them, they are so careful with what they say. But in reality, that creates so much anxiety for that person.
Because you're constantly, like, hyper focused on, okay, what if I go wrong, what if things just don't go like according to my way. That's where the biggest con of being too self-aware just enters the picture.
Yeah.
And then sometimes, when we try and overanalyze every other thing in our life, things just start, like,
falling apart.
falling apart. Like, you may have imagined everything to go a particular way, and then once you start hyper focusing, and then you start hyperventilating about it, and then things just become like they just fall apart, and you can't even do anything about it.
You cannot, and especially when you know these things are happening, but you still get caught in that loop.
Loop.
And one thing that I really talk about when self-aware people exist is that they also put other people's needs before their own,
Yes.
because they
The
know,
pros.
yeah, because they know it's a pro sometimes, because
Hmm.
yes, you should also care about other people, and they care about other people quite deeply,
Hmm.
but you never put your own self first, because you know what other people need and what emotional support other people need, and while doing that you create a trade-off which is extremely negative for yourself. So that's a that's a
Big con,
problem.
yes. Because as you said, continuing on the trade-off thing, there is a trade-off to everything we do.
Everything in life.
Every single thing in life. The more we try to focus on the negatives, the faster we lose on the positives.
Yeah.
In especially being too self-aware, obviously, in this day and world and age, especially with the current social media, the trends, the hashtags that we're all constantly flowing along with, we do need to be self-aware. We do need to be aware of our emotions and what's happening inward. But what we're trying to say here is that the constant need of being self-aware all the time has let people choose so much negativity that they have just stopped believing in positivity
Because people don't know the meaning of
of
being
being
self-aware.
self-aware. Yeah.
You people, literally every single person, they just say, oh, I'll look at my negative things, I'll look at my flaws. But being self-aware is not only being like aware of your flaws, but also about your strengths. It's to be aware that what you are doing in life is helping you, that you help your friends, you help your family, you show up for yourself in small ways that matter, you applaud yourself for the things that you do for yourself. But we don't
We
see
don't
that,
see that.
because social media and our external world has conditioned ourselves to always be insecure,
Exactly.
because that feeds the machine, right? The entire,
Algorithm.
yeah, the
That's what we say.
capitalism runs on people being insecure and having low self-esteem. It runs on that. And I remember I read this thing, Jean-Paul Sartre, he basically said that because of the world we live in, people have forgotten that they are subjects. They just become an object in other people's
Life, yeah.
conversations. You create a fake identity, you like live a fake life, make a fake persona just so you're accepted
Hmm.
in society,
Hmm.
just something that makes you someone better. And this is in line with what we talked about, performativity as well.
The performative behavior that we
You're
did.
so
Yeah.
self-aware that you start performing for other people.
And at the same time, being performative, if it's helping you, go for it. But here, there are more cons than the pros here.
So please educate yourself on the definition of
Of self aware,
self-awareness.
yes.
And again, as Prisha said, have more grace.
More than grace, give yourself the time and room to grow, because you cannot, if you constantly if you constantly keep focusing, like, that's what my main aim is, that if you keep focusing on the negatives all the time, you constantly, you don't know what's happening in the present, because you're still like, okay, this is, you might have had a bad conversation or something, or a fall apart with a friend whatsoever. You keep constantly over analyzing it, like, okay, what went wrong, what happened, like, did I do something wrong, and whatever. But just practice detachment, guys.
Yeah, and remember, you are not a philosopher.
We're
Like
all trying
you,
to figure it out.
yeah, and you do not need to live your entire life inward. You don't have to think about the
That's the
meaning of
beauty of making
consciousness.
mistakes.
Just live. You don't have to think about, oh, this is what's going to happen if I do this, or if I reflect on this, if I introspect on this topic, what would that reveal about myself and
Exactly.
my trauma, what I faced.
And sometimes even that cannot give you that much closure.
And you sometimes don't need it. There are things that you will only understand when you reach a certain point in your life.
Yes.
You might know them now. I'm not saying you might not know the truths of the world or something that is important for you to know, but you will never understand the true effect of it until you reach that one
One
point.
point. Yeah.
So no matter how much you introspect, it's not going to help you. And if you spend your entire life doing that, you will forget to live. You will forget to be in
Live
the
in the present
moment.
moment.
Yeah,
Yes.
and that is not helpful for any person. Because in the end you just remember those small things, right?
Yeah.
And you don't remember how you thought that, oh, that person was going to say something, but why did they not say it? Why did they
That's what I
say it
said.
with that
Like,
undertone?
you keep constantly reliving your past moments. Like, what did I do wrong? What did I do
Yeah.
this? Sometimes it's okay to not have all of your emotions over analyzed and completely, figured it out, because that's the whole point of living in the present moment and just living all together.
Yeah.
People make mistakes, failures happen, things happen, and you cannot do anything about it.
That's the paradox of, I think, being too
Being
self-aware.
There is a paradox,
The
like,
more the choices, the more existential you become,
become,
the
yes.
more you start questioning everything, and the more you question, you start unraveling yourself.
And the more you unravel yourself, the deeper maybe
You get
you
stuck in that loop.
loop. Yes.
And we know, like, trust me, I have written so many things about this. Like, I feel so self-aware of my own pains and my vulnerability, and I've written, but at one point, no matter how much you know about yourself, there is much more, not only of the world that you will never know,
Yes.
and of yourself. And it's
That's
good that some things should stay unknown to you.
unknown. That's what I
That's
said.
the beauty of
That's the
life.
beauty of being just not understanding
And when
everything.
it's supposed to find you, it will.
It will, yeah. Things that are supposed to happen, people who are supposed to find you will happen. People are not supposed to stay by your side, not going to stay by your side.
Yeah, so
That's
if you feel like you're stuck in that moment of loop, I think just take a breather. Like, genuinely, just like practice breathing. Take a step back, write about it if you want. If you want to clear your head of that feeling, talk to your friends, talk to your family, people you feel comfortable with, basically, that you can just like be yourself around, and find those people.
yes, good support system. We've
Yeah.
said that before in the past videos as well. Having 2 to 3 people by your side rather than having a whole flock of people out there is much, much better.
And just write a list of the good qualities about you.
Yeah,
You
rather than
don't.
focusing. Yeah, give yourself grace.
Yeah,
That's what we
you
said.
don't do people don't do that enough. We always look at the negatives. I remember talking to my friend about this, that when you are having like an insecure day, if you ask yourself, what do I like about me, you might not be able to come up with even one
One thing,
quality.
yeah.
But if someone asks me, what's one thing you like about your friend, I can give an endless list.
10 list, yeah.
And the fact that you can treat your friend and your loved ones with so much grace and so much love because you have that for them, how can you not
Not
treat
treat
yourself
yourself.
with that same love? Like, you were born on this earth just with yourself, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you
Practice
were
it
connected
first
with
with
your soul.
yourself. Yeah, exactly.
So
You're
please
right.
just write about what you like about yourself, because at the end of the day, when like you have solitude, you are going to be alone. And if you are not comfortable with yourself, how good is life?
Yeah.
Just have fun. Like, I genuinely say that, just have fun and do those experiences that you were scared of, and go
Try saying
find
no
that.
less. Try
Yeah,
saying
just
yes.
try saying yes more. Maybe you'll find out something about yourself you didn't know
No,
earlier.
yes.
That's also being aware. Like, being self-aware means you reflect on things, you analyze newer things about yourself. And
And
how will
trying to
you do
figure
that?
new things out.
How will you do that if you don't experience life?
Exactly. I think that's what we thought when we were even trying to cover this episode, and we were trying to research about it. So, yes, Anita, I think this is the end of today's episode.
Yes.
We had so much fun talking about it.
And if you liked this
Yes,
episode, please go comment down below what you liked about it.
yes.
Give us new ideas that you would like to see us talk about.
And if you like
Share.
this, do let us know if you would like to see similar content like this.
Yes, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.